Jo Darville, artist presently working and living in Perth, originally from the eastern states, studying and working in Melbourne, and previously before that growing up in southeast Gippsland in Victoria. The works that I've sent to Rochford recently are some of the best examples of a number of series that I've been working on over the last 15 years or so, since moving to WA. In particular, Oceans, that you've got on show at the moment, is probably one of the best paintings from that series. It's essentially, a painting is a silent view. It doesn't move. A painting sits on your wall and it sits there silently within your environment or within the gallery environment. But a great painting is something that I feel conveys a mood, and it keeps producing and it keeps offering the viewer something. Oceans, I feel, captures that mood, and it tends to change. Like, you can keep looking at it and what you see one day won't dramatically be different because the colours are similar and so on, but the feeling moves, and that could be, perhaps what happens to the viewer, or what's been happening to the viewer, or where they're from, or them bringing their own experiences. So I really believe that a great painting can really affect a personal environment, but also accept the experiences of the viewer. Oceans is also a really important painting for other reasons, is that the idea that we're all living on the coast, whether we're here in Perth or Sydney or back home in southeast Gippsland, we all sort of live, within the coastal areas of Australia, and so the sea and that view of the sea is really significant to our consciousness. And if you look at the history, my personal history, I originate from the Lucas family hundreds of years ago, with the first fleet coming out from England, and Nathaniel Lucas. There's been a number of books written on him and the First Fleet that you may be aware of. He arrived to Norfolk Island and eventually came to Sydney, and his job as a convict, and he earned his freedom, was he was a carpenter, and he built a lot of the first buildings in Sydney. In particular, I think around Battery Point, he built the windmill behind the battery at Dawes Point. So if you're walking around that area, you can, think of Nathaniel. But we all kind of originate from somewhere. And the idea that the ocean, or originally it was the ocean that brought us all here to the country, whereas nowadays we're all flying in from different parts and so on. But originally it was the ocean. So, there's a lot of, it's a really loaded, constantly provides me with lots of inspiration to keep painting that theme. The other two works that I've sent to Rochford for this exhibition, one is Arcadia. It's a small painting, but it's a significant painting actually. That's probably one of my favourites, and many people wanted to buy it over the past few years, but I've had it in the studio and used it to sort of inspire, and many other paintings have come from that work, and commissions as well. It's a very special work that's close to my heart, and you can see that the work itself is almost singing, and the colours are moving around the piece, and at different times of the day you'll see different colours and possibly marks that you may have never seen before, and they happen, and they're created by light. So the combination of the natural light and the pigment that's within the paint reacts at different times of the day. So even with a painting, you can, with white light, that's the natural light from the sun, you'll see a painting change, and that's because pigments are just as alive as light is, and they're constantly, the aspects that create a pigment, derived from natural minerals and resources and all sorts of interesting things. If you bother getting into what makes a colour, it's quite a fascinating endeavour to understand colour, and that's one of the things that I am really interested in. I'm really interested in colour, and I've read a lot about colour, and I've explored a lot with colour using natural pigments, from natural pigments out here in Western Australia to imported pigments from Europe, pigments that are made from seashells, seaweed, tea bags. But yeah, pigment is really, really interesting, and you can actually create perspective with colour, so that a 2D surface can actually become a 3D surface by the creative use of colour. And that's what you'll see perhaps with Murukata. Murukata is also really interesting because Murukata is the indigenous name for Kings Park, which is a big park here in WA, in the city of Perth. It's larger than New York City's Central Park, so it just gives you an idea of how big this park is. Of course, it's got some lovely green areas and an incredible botanical garden, but it's also got original bush, lots and lots of it, and so you can actually walk through this incredible park and really feel like you're in the middle of the bush, but yet you're still here in the city of Perth. So it's a really special place. And you can see some areas have been tamed and the grass has been mowed and plants have been pruned, but you can't do that with natural Australian bush. And what I'm trying to do here is say, how beautiful is this bush? How incredibly it's like a sort of an opera of colour and movement, and so I hope when you look at Murukata, you can see, the various colours moving around and the symphony sort of building and the energy building, and then you can sort of go to areas and just take a rest into, in aspects within in the sticks or on the ground or up in the sky. You can sort of soar like a bird and hover in the sky and then look back down on it. And so, that's what I'm trying to capture with Murukata and Arcadia in particular. So I hope you enjoy the new works at Rochford, and I'm looking forward to sending you some more in the future. Thanks very much.